Today is Saturday, December 16th, and this is William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. Sorry if my feet are a little crunchy right now. I'm walking across the pasture out back. It'll quiet down in a minute. Yesterday, I posted a talk on science. The title of the talk was, "Does Occam's Razor Still Side with Modern Science?" And a couple of responses that I received were asking some questions to dig a little deeper into the topic of modern science, and I've got a little break today, and I thought I would get into it a little bit more. In God's providence, last night actually, I was uploading that video, and I saw another video on YouTube, an interview on Lex Fridman's podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with Lex Fridman and the podcast that he runs. He interviews some of the most influential men, either in business or in academics, in technology, and so on. And they're usually long-form interviews, so they can run 2 hours or so. And they're very interesting. It's nice content to put on in the background. If you have desk work and you're working on other things, I just put them on in the background and listen along. And every once in a while, something interesting comes up, and I'll tune in a little bit. And the interview I saw yesterday come across the feed was with Jeff Bezos. So I thought that'd be pretty interesting. Fridman is a physicist, I think. He works at like MIT, so he's not just some podcaster. He's not some media guy. He's actually a scientist. I think his father was also a well-known scientist, maybe even an MIT professor himself. But Fridman had Jeff Bezos on the show, and many people think of Jeff Bezos as Amazon Jeff Bezos, but Lex Fridman had him on for an interview, not so much as Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy, but as Jeff Bezos, the computer scientist and space explorer, who's developing all kinds of technology, doing much of the same stuff that Elon Musk is doing, in almost a competitive race, as it were. But he had Jeff Bezos on for an interview recently. And as I was listening to the interview, it came to a point where Jeff Bezos took some time to celebrate modern technology. And what he said is every aspect of life is better today than it was before. I'll find the spot in the interview where he talks about this, but he says everything today is better than it was generations ago. And he starts listing all of these things that are better. Healthcare is better, communication is better, transportation is better, disease prevention is better, immunizations are better, medicines are better, surgeries are better, all these things are better. And the argument was that technology has made life better for everyone. And that's spoken as sort of a proof that it's true and good, because it's making life better for everyone. And as he said that, I asked again, is this a scientific statement? Is life empirically better for everyone today than it was in the past? Or is this just another one of these assumptions made by modern scientists? Because I will argue that this is not true at all, and I'll say that this is one of these assumptions with no evidence whatsoever. And I'll give you a few examples to think about. This is going to be a short talk because it's just about dinner time here. First of all, if we go back into the ancient world, we can read in the book of Psalms in the Old Testament, written before 900 BC, and I don't have the exact psalm in mind. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. But if we go back into the ancient Old Testament scriptures, at least 3,000 years ago, we read that the lifespan of man is 70 years, or 80 if he's strong. 70 or 80 if he's strong. That means 70 or 80 years. So it was understood in the ancient world, at least 3,000 years ago, that the human lifespan is 70 to 80 years. So let me ask you, 3,000 years of development, centuries and centuries of scientific and technological development, is the average life expectancy actually greater than it was in the ancient world? And be careful if you say yes, because I guarantee you're leaving an important number out. The answer is no. Life expectancy has not been raised beyond 70 to 80 years. In fact, life expectancy of women in the United States, I believe, is around 79 years old, and life expectancy of men, I think, is under 75. I think it was 74. So in the ancient world, thousands of years ago, the life expectancy of men and women was 70 to 80 years. And today, with all of this celebrated medical research and technological advancement, the life expectancy is still between 70 and 80. So that hasn't changed. But I would throw some other numbers on the table, or some other realities, I should say, on the table, which I think raise some serious problems with this number. What do we do when we consider that this life expectancy and the way it's calculated is based on the time of birth? So at the time of birth, what would the life expectancy be? And as I said, it's 74 for men, 79 for women. Now, what I would like to know is, what about all of the aborted people? What about all of the people that modern medicine and modern technology are aborting every day? Millions and millions of them. What about the aborted people? How do they play into the paradise fantasy land of modern medicine and technology? Why is it necessary to abort all of these children? Why can't they be allowed to live? If the world is so wonderful, if everything is so great, if everything is so much better, if science and technology has basically created a paradise for us to live in, why are so many people not allowed to join us in that paradise world that we live in? The reason, or the answer I should say, is because this world is not sustainable. The modern lifestyle, the modern plan for life that all of these scientists and technology masters celebrate so much is not a sustainable life. It's not available to everyone. It's available, in fact, to very few people. The numbers are all skewed because we abort a great percentage. I don't know what the percentage actually is, but we abort a great percentage of those who might be human beings. And then we celebrate the life expectancy of the ones who we don't abort. as if life is some kind of intrinsically valuable end worth pursuing and having. The whole system is self-contradicting. The whole system is irrational. And any attempt to make it seem like all is well is simply a denial of the reality of the circumstances. How can we simultaneously hear scientists celebrating and praising how wonderful life is today, how much better it is than any time in the past, and then have those same people turn around and complain to us constantly of all of the problems of the world, like climate change, right? Climate change is this urgent, horrible threat to the world. Well, was climate change a problem in the time of Moses or David? Was climate change a problem in the time of Thomas Aquinas? Why is climate change a problem today? Is it simply a time where there are changes in the universe or changes on our planet that are just sort of part of the nature of things and we just happen to be living during them? No, that's not the idea, because we're being yelled at as if we're the causes of these things. And if that's the case, then what is the actual cause of these things? Is the cause that the ancient way of life is polluting the earth? Is it the way of life that Moses lived, or that David lived, or that Thomas Aquinas lived that's destroying the planet? I don't think so. Isn't it more accurate to say that the modern way of life is what's actually destroying the planet? Isn't it more accurate to say that cities and modern technology are destroying the planet? Sure, we can praise technology. We can praise the advent of clean gasoline and say that the development of highways and emission standards for automobiles has radically improved the air quality in America. But that was only because the scientists invented trains that ran on coal and filled the place with black smoke. It was the scientists and engineers who developed the cities in the industrial era that were filled with smog. So we can say that we've made the air cleaner since the earlier phases of scientific and technological development. But is the air cleaner than it would be if we had a more ancient mode of life? And I would argue no, it's not. When we look at these health crises, like this whole coronavirus epidemic that developed a few years ago, it was caused by international travel and trade. Is that an ancient problem, or is that a modern problem? That's another one of these modern problems. The fact that a disease can spread through the whole world in a matter of hours or days needs to be credited to all of the modern technology, all of the modern transportation that's praised as having radically improved life in the world. All of the criticism of moral issues, all of the criticism of the mental health disorders caused by social media and all kinds of, well, not television anymore, but videos and music and the media and so on. All of this has been made possible by the technology that's constantly being celebrated. as having made everyone's life better. The greatest problems in healthcare have to do not with malnutrition or starvation, but with overindulgence, with gluttony and obesity, with diabetes, self-inflicted diseases caused by a superabundance of modern processed foods that have made whole societies sick. Are we celebrating the fact that we're able to help diabetics lower their blood sugar? Is that something that modern science is taking credit for? Why isn't modern science taking credit also for raising the blood sugar in the first place? When I was in high school, there was a group of kids in my school who worked as volunteer firefighters. And this group of kids, they would be able to get out of class and hop in their trucks and run off to local fires anytime that they were notified, because they were members of this local volunteer fire department. And they were aspiring firemen in central New Jersey. Well, there was a scandal that took place because it turned out that these kids were actually going around starting the fires and then rushing to be the first responders so that they could look good. I would argue that this is what modern science has done. Modern science has established itself as the glorious and heroic first responders to crises that it has created. And that's why we see these men like Jeff Bezos, mega billionaires, talking about how amazing life is, but I don't think he has these things in mind as he tries to build some Star Wars community in outer space. I don't think he's thinking about all of the aborted children. I don't think he's thinking about all of the diabetics. I don't think he's thinking about the opioid crisis and all the drug addicts strung out on the streets because they have access to substances that shouldn't even exist. I really don't understand what people are talking about when they celebrate science. Can you really be that biased? Can you really be that biased to just ignore all of the negatives, all of the harm that's been caused by modern science and technology? Why don't you go talk to the people in Gaza right now? Go talk to the people in Gaza and ask them about the benefits of modern technology. As their entire country or city, whatever you want to call it, their entire land is reduced to ashes by missiles being dropped from airplanes or launched from ships at sea or other cities. Go ask them about the benefits of technology. There's a lot more to think about in this discussion of science and technology that somehow is allowed to be ignored. And we just go on parroting these crazy things. Oh, life is so much better today than it was 500 years ago. Is it really? Is it really? Then what is the opioid crisis? Why are so many people on antidepressants? Oh, is that the advantage? Oh, because we've come up with medications to deal with the depression that's rampant through society. Oh, what an advance. What an achievement. If science is the cause, if technology is the cause of these problems, can it really also claim to be the remedy? I really don't understand what people mean when they say things like this. They say, oh, well, just look at the technology. Someone commented yesterday on technology. You mean social media? You mean email and live chat and all these things? These things have improved culture, you believe? You believe they've improved learning? Or have they created an appearance of an improvement in learning? I'm in high-level studies, high-level courses, and I'm doing more or less the same work that I was doing in the 1990s. Reading articles, reading research reports, reading results of experiments, typing up essays. Are the tools a little more convenient? Yeah, sure, you can say that my computer and my high-speed internet access are matters of convenience. But if you took them away, would I be able to continue this work with, let's say, an old typewriter? I certainly would be able to. I certainly would. If my email was taken away, would the quality of my communication with others be destroyed? Not at all. Would it take a little longer to get a message out and to get a response? Yes. Might it be a little more costly? Yes. But you know what? It would also be a little more thoughtful. It would be a little more intentional. We would prepare better for our communication. So the fact that we've made communication faster, has that actually made it better? I'm not sure. You can say, yeah, but what about your live online classes, Mr. Michael? You spend your time sitting online teaching kids on Zoom. Yeah, and you know what? I think it stinks. I teach online classes because these kids will not read. They will not read. So I've got a choice to make live classes on video or leave these kids to social media or worse, because they will not read. I get criticism from YouTube videos because the video's too long. So when we look at the technology, is it making things better? I really don't think so. I think we're forced to use it because it's almost poisoned human communication, and people are so lazy. Attention deficit has become such an epidemic that for me to write a 15-page lesson explaining some historical event or the life of some important person or some important concept in grammar, there would be no students. Because learning would not be able to compete with some half-naked girl dancing on TikTok. And so the only hope that any decent education has now is for teachers to try to make use of it. And this is what we see in the ridiculousness of social media, which is why I recently just got off it, because you can go look at something like Instagram where Catholics are trying to be influential, and all you have on Instagram are Catholic images and videos embedded in the midst of filthy, immoral trash. And everyone's on there because we're all being told that the technology is so awesome and it's making everything better. I just don't agree. I don't agree it's making things better. The fact that we make use of it, does not prove that we find it to be superior. The way that it's forced upon our society, and I'll give you a challenge. Turn your cell phone off for a month. Turn your cell phone off for a month. Should be no problem, right? I mean, you have other ways to communicate. You can communicate on email, or you still have a home phone or maybe an office phone. No, you can't, because every aspect of this communication is intertwined with certain forms of communication. So you can't even get into your email account or your bank account unless you've got a phone that can receive a security code. To a degree, we're forced to adapt to the technology, and so you can't say that because people are using it, it's because they secretly love it. There are reasons why some of it is forced upon us and is necessary. There's other reasons why we have to make use of it, because the alternative is simply not even acceptable to our target audience, which is a fault of the target audience, and will ultimately, like I ultimately know, that students who depend on live classes are not going to make any progress. They're not going to make progress because no one is going to sit around making videos for every single lesson that they need to learn. At some point, they're either going to become independent readers and researchers who can work with text directly, or they're just going to stop. And most of them, I would say almost all of them, are going to stop. And that relatively soon. The fact that we can put stuff online, the fact that we can make YouTube videos, the fact that we can develop all kinds of cool software programs and tools and devices, doesn't mean that more people are becoming wiser or better. We're celebrating the stuff. We're celebrating the devices as if they guarantee greater results. And what I'd like you to show me, where are the greater results? Is learning improving or declining at present in schools? Are reports suggesting to us that education is increasing or decreasing? It's decreasing. So why are we praising the changes that have been made? And what happens is new changes are just proposed, and then we all celebrate technology again, but we ignore the fact that technology caused the last problem and is now pretending to be a solution to problems that it caused. And we're acting as if we've not observed that. We're acting as if there's no history, as if the whole world was plunged in confusion and darkness, as if the whole world was filled with ignorant children who can't read. And now, the new website sponsored by the Department of Education that gets funded with $1 billion and uses some new technology to do this or that is now going to change everything. And all of the mindless crazies run after it as if they haven't seen this same story already play out 1,000 times. It doesn't change anything. The learned people are still those who sit at their desk and read and write and think. The technology is not going to change any of that. It can make it more convenient, that's true. but it's still going to be the same people doing the work. And if you took the conveniences away, those same people would continue to do the same work. So I'd like to know, and I'm going to wrap up with this question. I'd like to know, when Jeff Bezos says everything is better today, everyone's life is better today, I'd like some examples. Where is human life better today as a result of modern science and technology?